So good evening, everyone. So welcome you all on behalf of CA Sansar. This is CA Deepika Ganesan, faculty for indirect taxation for the past 5 years since 2016, teaching the students in professional courses as well as the college students, accountants, and staff, whoever is willing to learn GST. So today's topic is value of supply under GST. So before moving into the topic of value of supply, I just wanted to introduce you all to this charging section. The charging section, section 9, subsection 1 of CGST Act says there shall be a levy of CGST on all intra-state supplies of goods or services or both, except the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption on a value determined by central government at the rate determined by the on a value determined under section 15 at the rate determined by the central government. So this is the need for us to know what is value of supply, because only when we know the value of supply we can apply the rate and calculate GST. So where the need is specified in charging section, so on a value determined under section 15 of CGST Act. Same way, section 5 subsection 1 of IGST Act says there shall be a levy of IGST on all interstate supplies of goods or services or both, except the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption on a value determined as per section 15 of CGST Act at the rate determined by the central government. So here again they specify value determined as per section 15. So the need for value of supply under GST arises here. So let us move on to the topics for discussion. So let us discuss today transaction value, inclusion, exclusions, determination of value of supply. So under that, where consideration is not wholly in money, and the determination of value of supply between distinct or related persons other than through an agent, goods made or received through an agent, and the valuation based on cost, residual method, and determination of value in respect of certain supplies, that is purchase or sale of foreign currency, life insurance business, taxable supply provided by person dealing in buying and selling of second hand goods, value of supply of services in case of pure agent, rate of exchange of currency other than Indian rupees, and the last one is determination of tax amount in case value of supply is inclusive of tax. So these are the topics. So let us discuss one by one in detail. Section 15, value of taxable supply. So first let us identify whether the conditions required for transaction value are satisfied. So conditions A and B should be satisfied cumulatively. Even if one of the condition is not satisfied, then we all have to move to valuation rules. If both the conditions are satisfied cumulatively, then value of supply is equal to transaction value. If either of the conditions or both the conditions are not satisfied, then the valuation rules shall apply. So what are the conditions? So we have to understand what are the two conditions. One is the supplier and recipient are unrelated. Point number 2, price is the sole consideration. If both these conditions are satisfied, value of supply is equal to transaction value. If one of them or both of them are not satisfied, then valuation rules shall apply. Now, having said transaction value, so we have to understand what is transaction value. The price actually paid or payable by the recipient to the supplier for supply of goods or services or both. So price actually paid or payable by whom? By the recipient to the supplier for what? For supply of goods or services or both. So that is what is transaction value. There are certain inclusions and exclusions under the term transaction value. Let us discuss one by one in detail. The first one, taxes, duties, cesses, and fees. So, what is this taxes, duties, cesses, and fees? So, any taxes or duties or cess or fees other than CGST, SGST, UTGST, and IGST, then that will have to be included. Now, let us take for example. Now, you stay in a rented property, so you have to pay rent. Apart from that, there is something called property tax or municipal tax, which the owner will pay. In certain cases, the owner will recover that from the tenant. So, in case your rent which you are paying is rupees 20,000 per month, and say he is recovering some 1,000 rupees towards municipal tax, so then the value of supply will not be 20,000. It has to get, I mean, that rupees 1,000 will have to get included, because this is a tax, but it is not pertaining to GST. So any tax other than the GST, that is CGST, SGST, IGST, and UTGST, apart from these four, any other taxes will have to be included. Point number 2, amount incurred by the recipient on behalf of the supplier. So that is, the amount has to be incurred by the supplier, but the recipient has incurred this amount. Now let us take for example freight charges. Now when we have ordered a product, the supplier has to send the goods to us. So for that he has to transport the goods. That freight charges has to be incurred by the supplier. But in case the recipient is incurring that freight, that will also have to be included in the value of supply. Say the product value is 50,000 and the freight charges is 5,000. Now the transaction value will be 55,000 and not 50,000. So that amount will have to be included. Point number 3, incidental expenses. So any incidental expenses like packing, commission, brokerage. Now we order food. Let us take food. We order food, say directly, not through this delivery platforms like Swiggy or Zomato, directly from the restaurant. So what happens? They pack it. So they'll charge something called packing charges. Say the food value is 500 rupees. Packing charges is some 30 rupees. And apart from that, delivery charges, say that is some 40 rupees. So now the value of supply will not be 500. It will be 500 plus 30 plus 40. So totally it's going to be 570. So all these incidental expenses will have to be included. Then another example is say commission or brokerage. Say you have appointed a person who will get customers for you. Say the product which you are going to sell is worth rupees 5 lakhs. And the agent is getting you a customer. His commission is 20% of the product value. So what you do is, you ask the customer to pay you only 4 lakhs, and that 20%, that is 1 lakh, you pay to the agent. So in this case, the value will not be 4 lakhs. He is receiving only 4 lakhs, but his value will not be 4 lakhs. It will be 5 lakhs, because whatever incidental expenses takes place, that also has to be included. Point number 4, interest or late fee or penalty. Now this happens in case of delayed payment. So there is a credit period of 1 month. So you don't pay within that 1 month period. So there is a delay in payment. So for every month of delay, you have to pay some 1,000 rupees late fee. Say the value is 10,000 and you don't pay within the due date. So within for 1 month delay, it is 1,000. So you are paying 11,000. So in this case, the transaction value will be 11,000. It will not be 10,000. Suppose in case you are waiving off, so the customer is a long-term customer who has been with you for a long time. So what happens? Say this is the first time he is delaying, so you waive off that late fee. Then whether the value of supply will be 10,000 or 11,000, it will be only 10,000. Why? Because it is only interest or late fee or penalty received. If you don't receive, you will not include in the transaction value. So this is point number 4. Point number 5, subsidies directly linked to the price. Now, any subsidy which you receive from other than central government or state government or union territory, so other than from government, then that will have to be included. Now, let us take for example. So, you take a classmate notebook, say it is costing 50 rupees. Now, this classmate, that manufacturer, that is ITC Limited, what they say to all the retailers is, if any school children, school student, they come and show their ID card, you give them 20% discount. So out of 50 rupees, 20% discount, they'll get it at 40 rupees. Now that 10 rupees, the ITC Limited is providing it as a subsidy. So in this case, this is other than from government. So for ITC Limited, sorry, for the retailer, the value of supply will be 50 rupees. That is 40 plus 10, the subsidy which they receive. So it is 50 and not 40. So that will have to be included. Now, if it is from government, say you take a government company where the food is provided to the employees. Say the canteen person is charging only rupees 20 from the employees. Actual cost is 70 rupees, but only 20 rupees is charged from the employees. The remaining 50 is paid by the company on behalf of the employees. So hence this is from government. The subsidy is from government. This will not be included. The value of supply will be only rupees 20. Exclusions. So what are all the exclusions? Only there is one exclusion, that is discount. So discount, we have two types. One is pre-supply discount, another one is post-supply discount. So what is that pre-supply discount? That is at the time of supply or before the supply. So it is mentioned in the invoice itself. Go to a textile showroom, you buy a garment, say it is costing 2000 rupees, say 50% discount. So on the face of the invoice, it is mentioned 50%. So deduct rupees 1000, remaining 1000 you pay. So in this case, that dealer can avail this discount. So his value of supply will only be 1000 and not 2000. So this is pre-supply. Now post-supply, that is after the supply is over. So in this case, if you have to claim the deduction, there should be the conditions should be satisfied. The first condition is there should be an agreement which is entered into between both the parties prior to the supply or at the time of supply. So what should the agreement state? In case the quantity, say they will have a limit, say 10,000 quantity or 20,000 quantity, if you are able to exhaust this limit, then you will be given 5% discount. So this has to be stated in the agreement, and the agreement should have been entered prior to the supply or at the time of supply. So after this agreement is entered, say for 1 year, say the limit of 10,000 is crossed, so he's getting a discount of 5%. Then what are the other conditions? The other conditions are the recipient should reverse the ITC. Why? Because the quantity, say each quantity is costing rupees 1000. Now on that apply GST. Say for easy understanding, let us take 10%. There is no GST rate as 10%. It is only 5, 12, 18 and 28. I repeat, it's only 5, 12, 18 and 28. But for easy understanding, let us take 10%. So 10% on rupees 1000 is coming to 100. So the tax paid is rupees 100. So the ITC will also be 100. But now the dealer is getting 5% discount. So now the rate will be 950 and not rupees 1000. It will be 950. So in this case, if it is 950, the tax comes to only 95. But whereas you have taken input tax credit of 100, so you have to reverse that ITC pertaining to that discount. That is the 5 rupees you have to reverse. The moment you reverse that ITC, then the dealer, then the manufacturer, whoever has given the discount, can avail that as a deduction. So these are all the inclusions and exclusion. So we have completed the first part, that is the transaction value. The second part is the valuation rules. So let us see one by one in detail. So the rule in valuation rule, that is in CGST rule, it is rule 27. For valuation, it is the first rule. So value of supply where consideration is not wholly in money. So that means price is not the sole consideration. The second condition is not satisfied. So then how will you determine the value? Open market value. So whatever is the prevailing market value, that value you have to take if it is available. If it is not available, equivalent money value of consideration. So equivalent money value of consideration. So what is that equivalent money value of consideration? So in case you have exchanged a product, say for example, you have an old mobile phone, you go to Purvika, you exchange and get a new one. So that old phone goes for rupees 5,000 and the new phone which you're going to buy is 25,000. So you pay 20,000 in money and 5,000 as a kind. So value of supply will be consideration in money, that is 20,000 plus equivalent money value of consideration. So the old phone, that equivalent money value is 5,000. So 20,000 plus 5,000, 25,000. If that is also not available, value of supply of goods or services or both of like kind and quality, that is similar in nature. So you're not able to find out the value for one product, for one mobile phone. Say same features, characteristics which are present in other model of a mobile phone. So that value you take and adopt that. If that is also not available, go for the rule, that is rule 30 and 31. So as per CGST rules, it is rule 30 and 31. For valuation, it is going in this order. So rule 30 or 31. So it will be value of supply is equal to consideration in money plus equivalent money value of consideration as determined by application of rule 30 or 31. So this is in case the price is not the sole consideration. The second condition is not satisfied. Let us move on to the next rule, rule 28. As per CGST rules for valuation, this is the second rule. So value of supply between distinct or related person. So that means in case the first condition is not satisfied, that is the supplier and the recipient are related person. So what is the condition? Supplier and recipient are unrelated. That is not satisfied. Then how will you find out the value? Open market value. The prevailing market value, if it is available, take that value. If it is not available, then you have to take the value of supply of goods or services or both of like kind and quality, that is similar nature. If the goods or services are of similar nature, take that value. If that is also not available, then you have to go to rule 30 or 31 and apply those rules. Now there is an option to this supplier in case of goods alone. In case of goods, it is price charged for the supply of goods of like kind and quality by the recipient to his customer who is unrelated into 90%. Now for this, let us see an example. Now a person who is getting the goods from a supplier, he will get from so many suppliers, not only one supplier. So you are now we are going to find out the value between the supplier and the recipient. Say that recipient got a good from supplier 1. Now we don't know the value. Supplier 2, the same goods he has supplied. Say it is 4,000. Now that goods he is going to sell to his customer who is unrelated for say 4,500. 4,500. Now to find out the value between supplier 1 to recipient, how you can find out is 4,500 into 90 percentage. So it will come to 4,050 rupees. So this is an option given to the supplier to apply this method in case of goods alone. Otherwise, you can go with the open market value. If that is not available, take the value of goods of like kind and quality. If that is also not available, apply rule 30 or 31. Next, value of goods or services made through an agent. This is rule number 29. Now, principal and agent. So, whenever there is principal and agent relationship, so this comes under Schedule 1, Para 3. So, whenever an agent undertakes to supply goods on behalf of the principal, then that transaction, even if there is no consideration, still it is treated as a supply. But how will you determine the value? It is using this rule 29. If the open market value is present, take that open market value. If the open market value is not available, then we can take the price charge for the supply of goods or services. Goods, it's only for goods of like kind and quality by the recipient to his customer who is an unrelated person into 90%. Same example which we saw earlier, 4,000 he bought the goods, he's supplying to this customer at 4,500. So on that 90% is 4,050. So that value can be taken, or the open market value. So this is rule 29 of CGST rules. This will apply in case the goods or services are made through an agent. Next, rule 30. So this is what we saw in rule 28, 29. In case those things are not available, say the open market value, value of like kind and quality, equal and money value of consideration is not available, then go on to rule 30 or 31. So what is rule 30? It is based on cost. So value of supply in case of goods. There are two categories. One is manufacturer, another one is trader. Manufacturer, it is cost of production or manufacture into 110%. So whatever is your cost which is incurred for producing or manufacturing the product, that into 110%. Why 110? The 10% is profit margin. In case of trader, cost of acquisition of goods, that is your purchase price, into 110%. 10% is the profit margin. Services, cost of provision of service, that is 10% is the profit margin. So for providing that service, whatever cost you incurred, that into 110% will be taken as the value of supply. This is based on cost. This is nothing but cost plus profit. We would have studied in costing, cost plus margin. So that is the same thing here. 100 plus 10% is the profit margin. Residual method, rule 31 of CGST. Rule 27 to rule 30 does not apply. Then you come to residual rule. So what is this residual rule? If the specific rules does not apply, you come to this residual rule. You can determine the value through reasonable means. So reasonable means you have an option like you can apply for advance ruling to the authority for advance ruling, where stating that you are unable to determine the value of supply. So he will give you a value. So these are all the means you can supply. Now this one is rule 32, sub-rule 2, clause A. This is specific to purchase or sale of foreign currency. So we can convert a foreign currency to Indian rupees or from one foreign currency to another foreign currency. So when we are converting from foreign currency to Indian rupees, so what is the value of supply? First, we have to check whether RBI reference rate is available. That is Reserve Bank of India reference rate. If it is available, then the difference in the buying or selling rate and the RBI reference rate. Say the RBI reference rate is 61 rupees and our rate is 60. The difference is rupee 1 into total units of currency exchanged. So total amount of units of currency exchange is say 10,000. 10,000 into 1 rupees 10,000 will be the value of supply. On that we have to apply GST rate. Suppose say the RBI reference rate is 59 and our value is 60, then it will be minus 1. You have to take the absolute value, 1 into rupees. So 1 into 10,000 unit, so it is rupees 10,000. Suppose in case the RBI reference rate is not available, then gross amount of currency exchange, that is INR exchange, into 1%. So that means say you are exchanging 10,000 units, say it is 60 rupees per dollar. So it will come to 60,000. 60,000 into 1%, it comes to 600 rupees. So this is what is 10,000 units into rupees 60, it is 6 lakhs. So 6 lakhs into 1% comes to 6,000. So 6,000 rupees will be the value of supply. Now, in case it is foreign currency to another foreign currency, say a dollar is converted into pounds, then how do we find out the value of supply? First, we have to convert both the foreign currencies into Indian rupees. Say $10,000, say it is 60 rupees. So it will come to 6 lakhs. Say that $10,000 is converted into 5,000 pounds. So say the pounds rate is 100 per pound, it is 100 rupees. So 5,000 into 100, it comes to 5 lakhs. So 6 lakhs or 5 lakhs, whichever is lower. So we have to identify the lowest. 6 lakhs or 5 lakhs, whichever is lower. So 5 lakhs is lower. That into 1%, it comes to rupees 50,000. So that will be the, sorry, it will be rupees 5,000. That will be the value of supply. 5 lakhs into 1%, it will be rupees 5,000. That will be the value of supply. So this is in relation to purchase or sale of foreign currency. We have another option here. So rule 32 sub rule 2 clause B. So in this case, if your GACE means gross amount of currency exchanged. If the gross amount of currency exchanged is up to rupees 1 lakh, then it is gross amount of currency exchange into 1% or rupees 250, whichever is higher. So gross amount of currency exchanged, say it is 50,000. 50,000 into 1 percentage, it is rupees 500 or rupees 250, whichever is higher. So it is rupees 500. Say we have exchanged up to rupees 10,000 into 1 percentage, it is rupees 100 or rupees 250, whichever is higher. So 250 will be taken. If it is beyond 1 lakh and lesser than 10 lakhs, then it is rupees 1,000. That is nothing but for 1 lakh, 1 percentage. So rupees 1,000 plus 0.5% of gross amount of currency exchange for an amount exceeding rupees 1 lakh up to rupees 10 lakhs. In case you have exchange up to rupees 6 lakhs, for the first 1 lakh, it is rupees 1,000. For the remaining 5 lakhs, it is 0.5 percentage. It is 2,500. So it is 3,500. Next, if it is exceeding rupees 10 lakhs, if it is above rupees 10 lakhs, then rupees 5,500. So how it is calculated? Up to rupees 1 lakh, it is 1,000. Beyond that, that is for the remaining 9 lakhs, it is 0.5 percentage. So it is 4,500. So 1,000 plus 4,500, it is 5,500 plus 0.1 percentage of gross amount of currency exchange for an amount exceeding rupees 10 lakhs or rupees 60,000, whichever is lower. So in case we are exchanging 20 lakhs, then for the first 10 lakhs, it is 5,500. Remaining 10 lakhs, it is 0.1 percentage. So 0.1 percentage comes to rupees 1,000. So it is 5,500 plus rupees 1,000. It comes to 6,500 or rupees 60,000, whichever is lower. So 6,500. So these are the two methodologies where we can determine the value of supply in case of in relation to purchase or sale of foreign currency. If we want to adopt the second methodology, we have to adopt it in the beginning of the financial year, and once we have adopted to this, we have to stay in this scheme for the rest of the financial year. It is not possible to change in between. Next, value of supply in relation to booking of air tickets for air travel. This is rule 32 sub rule 3 of CGST rules. So in case of domestic bookings, it is 5% of base fare, and in case of international bookings, it is 10% of basic fare. So whenever we book a ticket, so there will be a bifurcation: basic fare, fuel cost, all this. So on that basic fare, take that 5% in case of domestic bookings. On that, apply GST rate. And in case of international bookings, on that basic fare, take 10%. On that, apply the GST rate and calculate it. Next, value of supply in relation to life insurance business. Rule 32 sub rule 4. So this sub rule is for when the premium paid covers risk plus savings. If it is only for risk, then this will not apply. If it is covering both risk as well as savings, then this rule will apply. So what it says, in case the value, that is the gross premium charged from the policy holder minus amount allocated for investment. So if it is already known, the amount is intimated to the policy holder, then this methodology will apply. Whatever premium charged, say they are charging you 1000 rupees, what they are allocating for investment, say 400, remaining 600, that will be the value. On that we have to calculate GST. If it is single premium policy, single premium annuity, one time premium, say you are paying 1 lakh, then 10% of that premium. So on 1 lakh, 10% comes to 10,000. On that apply GST and take that. In any other cases, on all other cases, if it is first year, 25% of premium charged. So the total premium, say if every year the premium is charged for you 20,000. For the first year on 20,000, 25%, that is 5,000. On that 5%, 5,000, apply GST and pay that. For the subsequent years, it is going to be out of 20,000, 12.5 percentage comes to 2.5, 2,500. On that, apply GST and pay the amount. So this is in relation to life insurance business. Next one, Rule 32, Sub-Rule 5 of CGST rules. Value of supply where the taxable supply is provided by a person dealing with buying and selling of second-hand goods. So normal situation, it is selling price minus the purchase price. So you buy a product, the second-hand product, and we do some repairs or some work and then sell it. So you buy a second-hand car for 1 lakh. You do some repair, painting, and all this, and you sell it for 2 lakhs. So it is selling price minus purchase price. That is 1 lakh. On that, we have to apply GST. Suppose you are buying at 1 lakh and you are selling it for 70,000. Then it is negative rupees 30,000. Then we have to ignore. This will apply in case you have not taken input tax credit on your purchase price. So whenever you purchase that old car, you have not taken input tax credit. Only then this methodology will apply. That is selling price minus purchase price. In case of goods repossessed from a defaulting borrower who is unregistered. So this is a person who has purchased a vehicle or any product by taking a loan from bank. So in this case, what happened? The purchase price of goods by the defaulting borrower. So whatever the borrower has incurred, the purchase price, less 5 percentage points for every quarter or part thereof between the date of purchase and the date of disposal by the person making such repossession. So in case you don't pay your dues to the bank properly, so they'll repossess the goods and they will sell it. So when they are going to sell that date and the date of purchase by you, say you have purchased on 1/1/2019 and today it is sold. Today is 17th March 2021. So we have to calculate the number of quarters. So in 2019 4 quarters, 2020 4 quarters, and 2021 1 quarter. So it is always Jan to March, April to June, July to September, October to December. So these are all the quarter we have to determine. Even if it is 1 day falling in that quarter, it will be taken. Suppose it is sold on 1st April 2021, it will become 2 quarters for 2021. If it is sold on today, that is 17th March, then it's going to be 1 quarter. So totally in 2019 4 quarters, 2020 4 quarters, 2021 1 quarter. So totally 9 quarters. 9 quarters into 5 percentage. So it is 45 percentage. So we have to reduce 45 percentage from that amount. Say it is 2 lakhs, reduce 45 percentage on 2 lakhs. So it comes to 90,000. Reduce that and remaining 1.1 lakhs. On that GST has to be paid. Next, value of a voucher, Rule 32 Sub-Rule 6 of CGST rules. Value of a coupon or a voucher or a stamp which is redeemable against supply of goods or services or both. Then the money value of the goods or services are both redeemable against such token, voucher or coupon or stamp. Now say for example we have a 500 rupees worth voucher, lifestyle voucher, and we go to lifestyle showroom and we purchase a product. Say the product is worth rupees 480. We don't get a product exactly for 500. Now the remaining 20 rupees, we don't have any other product. So in case we want to buy something else, we have to pay extra and buy. So we are not willing to do that. So we buy that 480 worth product alone and come back. So in this case, the value of supply will be 480 or 500. The answer is it is 500 because the rule says the money value of goods or services are both redeemable against that voucher. So how much you can redeem? 500. But you have redeemed only 480. So that is not the problem. But you can redeem up to rupees 500. So that value will be taken. Next, value of supply. This is rule 33. Value of supply of services in case of pure agent. So pure agent, he is acting as an agent on behalf of the recipient. So what the supplier does is he is an agent. So these are the conditions. He acts as an agent when he makes the payment to the third party. He makes the payment and that payment amount is made separately in the invoice, indicated separately in the invoice, and they are procured. The supply is procured by the agent from the third party for his providing this service and not for his own use. So in this case, this rule will apply. So for example, let us take ROC service. So we have to pay the fees to MCA. Say that is coming to rupees 2000 and the professional fees is 2500. So in case you indicate separately in the invoice, professional fee 2500, MCA fees rupees 2000, then your value of supply will be only rupees 2500. This 2000 which you pay on behalf of your client, there you are acting only as pure agent. You are only getting as a reimbursement. You are paying on behalf of the client. That will not be included in the value of supply. But for this, it has to be indicated separately in the invoice. If it is not indicated separately in the invoice, instead it is mentioned as ROC filing fees 4500, then entire 4500 GST has to be paid. So it has to be indicated separately in the invoice. Rule 34 of CGST rules, rate of exchange of currency. So in case of goods, it is going to be CBIC. It is going to be CBIC. And in case of services, it is going to be GAP. That is generally accepted accounting principles. For goods, it is CBIC. And for services, it is as per GAP, generally accounted accounting principle. Last one, rule 35 of CGST rule, what it states. Value of supply inclusive of IGST, CGST, SGST or UTGST. So if it is going to be inclusive of all these, so how will you determine the tax amount? Suppose the value is 118. Say 18% is the tax rate. So 118 into 18 percentage divided by 118, 100 plus the sum of tax rate. So rate is 18, 100 plus 18. So 118 into 18 divided by 118. So it will come to 18 rupees. So that will be the tax amount. In case we have to determine the value of supply, then it is going to be 118 into 100 divided by 100 plus 18. So it is going to be rupees 100. So this is how we have to determine the value and the tax amount in case the value of supply is inclusive of the tax amount, be it CGST or IGST or UTGST. So with this, I complete my presentation on value of supply. So thank you everyone. So this is me signing off, CA Deepika Ganesan, and I've left my email ID and contact number. So in case of queries, you can get back to me. So happy learning. GST, one nation, one tax.